When you are interacting with beautiful spaces, you suddenly feel that you have value and that you are beautiful. And it's so interesting to watch that play out as people visit this space. Biophilic design is woven through the entire site. And so if you'll notice that all of the sizes of the windows are not static, so they're not all 4 feet wide by 8 feet in length. They are irregularly patterned purposefully, because when you look out in nature, you don't see cherry trees and pine trees and oak trees all the same size, all spaced 2 feet apart. Biophilia is also woven into the arches of the paths. So curved lines are very aesthetically pleasing to humans, and that's a natural touch that is within the building. The fact that the LA ends in a fountain is also part of biophilic design, because there's something about the sound of water that draws people. So you'll often see folks just sitting around that fountain area, having a picnic, letting their children play. And if you ask them why they are there, they might not be able to tell you that it's because they need to be near that sound of running water. They might just say, oh, well, it's beautiful. My child loves to play here. I just feel relaxed when I'm here. But that's another one of those biophilic touches. This building is net zero water, net zero energy, and adheres to all of the petals that are put out by ILFI, the International Living Futures Institute. We have a beautiful solar array outside that actually covers the parking lot area, and it is providing many functions to the site. It allows us to capture all of the sunlight that we need to provide the electricity for this space. It's also a cool space to pull and park your car. You can look up and you can see that our PV array is actually glass bottomed so that you can see through the array itself. And that was a specific choice that we made because we wanted to mimic the dappling that occurs in the forest. We are also able, with that array, to collect all of the water that we need. The water is diverted into an above-ground cistern so that folks that are visiting can actually see the cistern and ask questions. Why is there a cistern? I wonder. And actually that above ground cistern then leads to another below ground cistern that's much larger and more functional. The wood that is on the exterior of the building is black locust, and that is a very special wood because you're able to use it and it weathers hard even though it's a soft wood as it's growing. And that means that we can use it without treating it with all of the different chemicals that normal lumber that you would buy at a lumber store would have. The Rain Ravine is a beautiful piece of art that was sculpted by an artist named Stacy Levy. And what she was trying to communicate was our need to be able to protect the first order streams that exist within this site. So Rain Ravine mimics a stream bed, and the water that rushes through the weirs and ends up in the Rain Ravine is slowed down before it goes into the environment. And so not only is Rain Ravine beautiful, but it also functions to protect the possible erosion that can happen below the stream and also keep sediment and other contaminants from entering into those important waterways that we have. The From Slavery to Freedom Garden is aptly named because it really highlights the history and the voice of a group of people who may have felt disenfranchised, or in actuality their story has not been told in the narrative of environmental science. It tells the story of people having to move through wild spaces and depend on their knowledge to be able to get their food, their water, their shelter, their space. So when I look at a plant, I might look at a plant and I might think about how that plant is a host to multiple insect species or feeds many different bird species. But there's another story there. That plant is also medicine. That plant also has a cultural story to it. And so it gives people a connection to who they are, and it invites them not only to learn about themselves through nature, but to go out onto the trails and to learn a bit more. So it's nice to have the representation of people's history and their story physically right there at the opening of the building as you walk in, because it really speaks to the commitment that the Parks Conservancy has to really truly changing some of the structures that have caused those inequities. Everything is designed to pique the curiosity of the visitor and to also highlight the beauty that exists within nature and the beauty that exists within the built environment, because one of the things that Living Building Challenge says is that beauty is important and that all humans need it. I really truly wish that this type of design and the level of care and excellence that went into this space could be an aesthetic that was mirrored throughout the city. We are motivated to care for people and to protect the environment, and that just resonates. You can feel that when you walk into the office space. So I think that's more a reflection of the people that I work with, but I think they're able to feel that because of the space that we're in. In some way, this design, having natural light, having all of these things that we may take for granted, this is adding to our creativity. It's adding to our sense of purpose, our sense of place, and our sense of joy.
Los árboles son los seres vivos más grandes y de mayor vida en la Tierra. Los árboles son capaces de transformar el dióxido de carbono de la atmósfera en oxígeno, convirtiéndolos en un organismo vegetal indispensable para la vida de otras especies, incluyendo al ser humano.
El arbolado es un factor bastante determinante en lo que son el mantenimiento de cuenca, en la preservación de los recursos naturales, y el arbolado es bastante vital para mantener ese recurso agua tan importante.
Bueno, son varios los servicios que tienen los árboles, ¿no? Regularmente nosotros nos referimos a la sombra y a la producción de oxígeno, pero hay otros servicios, ¿no? Como la remoción de contaminantes atmosféricos, todos aquellos que se generan por el flujo vehicular y por la industria. También está lo que es la reducción de la escorrentía cuando hay eventos de lluvia, y esto hace que se reduzca también los porcentajes de inundación a nivel de ciudad.
Una problemática que tenemos actualmente en Santo Domingo es la emisión de CO2 que emiten los vehículos en el transporte. Y con algunos problemas que tenemos sobre las regulaciones de los vehículos, vemos que la concentración de CO2 en el ambiente tiende a ser elevada. Entonces, por eso que es importante tener arbolados en la ciudad para poder contrarrestar ese efecto.
iTree Eco es una herramienta desarrollada por el Servicio Forestal de los Estados Unidos, que ha sido aplicada en varias ciudades a nivel mundial. Es usada para evaluar los servicios ecosistémicos generados por árboles y de producir información relevante para el manejo de bosques urbanos.
La vegetación está envuelta en todos los aspectos del funcionamiento de la ciudad, y tradicionalmente cada uno de esos aspectos tenía una disciplina distinta, cada uno por su cuenta, y ninguno le presta atención a la vegetación. Pero el iTree es una herramienta que sintetiza todas esas especialidades dentro de sus resultados, porque al hacerse la pregunta cómo la vegetación ayuda a cada una de esas especialidades, entonces el iTree te produce información sobre cómo tú puedes controlar la temperatura en el vecindario, cómo puedes controlar la temperatura en tu edificio, cómo tú puedes reducir la inundación, cómo tú puedes minimizar la contaminación del aire.
iTree es una herramienta que mide servicios ecosistémicos del arbolado urbano. Esto se hace a través de unas mediciones de los árboles en las cuales se toman ciertos parámetros, diámetro, ancho de la copa, altura del árbol, cómo está su estado y condición general. Y en base a esto se hace un cálculo de los servicios ecosistémicos que puede proveer este árbol en función de su especie, de su edad y de su condición física.
herramienta que hemos estado trabajando más fuertemente es iTree Eco, que es una herramienta que la han estado usando en muchas ciudades, en Estados Unidos, en Europa. Se ha empezado en América Latina, Puerto Rico, República Dominicana, fueron los primeros 2 lugares, luego Colombia, México, les han seguido.
A partir de conocer la herramienta iTree en un curso que participamos en Puerto Rico, empezamos a ver la vinculación con el trabajo que hacíamos en diferentes ámbitos y en la gestión ambiental también, y la herramienta, la utilidad que podía tener esta herramienta. Entonces planteamos un proyecto para PEER, que es una ventana de financiamiento de la Academia de Ciencias de Estados Unidos, con nuestros socios de la Universidad de Puerto Rico, del Instituto de Astronomía Tropical de Puerto Rico y del USFS Service y Raudo, que es la red ambiental de universidades dominicanas, para utilizar esta herramienta y medir los beneficios del arbolado urbano en la ciudad de Santo Domingo, específicamente en el polígono central.
El programa incluye la participación de estudiantes o profesionales del sector urbanístico, como arquitectos, ingenieros y personal afín al manejo de recursos naturales.
Yo actualmente estoy en una maestría de Ingeniería Sanitaria y Ambiental con el Instituto Tecnológico de Santo Domingo. Entonces es en base realmente a la herramienta. Con ella pues pretendemos conocer los servicios ambientales que nos brinda el arbolado en ciertas zonas de la ciudad de Santo Domingo, para así, vamos a decir, que gestionar adecuadamente los mismos, ¿no? Para sacarle el mayor provecho y ventaja.
Para mí es toda una innovación. Actualmente no conocía ninguna herramienta que relacionara el arbolado urbano con cualquier aspecto de la ingeniería, y para mí ha sido toda una innovación. La herramienta iTree combina todo lo que tenga que ver con los ecosistemas con los que vivimos actualmente.
Por muy complejas que sean las ciudades, el hombre ha tenido que incorporar la presencia de los árboles, muchas veces como elementos decorativos, sin conocer más allá los servicios ecosistémicos que ellos ofrecen.
Es muy importante hoy día, más que antes, que nosotros trabajamos juntos en los diferentes sectores de sociedad, las instituciones de gobierno, el sector privado y tanto las comunidades propias, porque todos nosotros afectamos el mundo y afectamos el medio ambiente. Pues todos nosotros beneficiemos si trabajamos juntos como un equipo.
Que no habría forma de que esta herramienta siguiera desarrollándose aquí sin la ayuda, sin la acogida de las instituciones del Estado y de la academia, que en este caso es la universidad, ¿no? La academia nos da los investigadores, pero si no, los tomadores de decisiones no acogen la herramienta como parte de su proceso, pues entonces no tendría sentido.
El Servicio Forestal desarrolló esta herramienta para que fuera utilizada por comunidades locales, pero en realidad el reto es usar la información. De nada vale que generemos todos estos reportes y toda esta información si no la utilizamos para lo que tenemos que utilizarla, para planificar el arbolado urbano, para diseñar ese arbolado de manera que sea funcional.
La ciudad de Santo Domingo, capital de República Dominicana, es el destino con mayor riqueza cultural del Caribe, ya que conserva todo el esplendor de su época colonial. Protegerla es vital para sus habitantes. iTree Eco abre nuevos caminos para redescubrir la relación del hombre y el entorno que le rodea.
My name is Anna Pellizzaro, in art scientien. I'm 24 and I'm the only one from Venice, Italy. I'm presenting my project, Floatin'Flowers. Nowadays, and during the springtime quarantine, we have experienced so much nature and green areas are essential in our lives. During the latest month, we've invented any kind of excuses for a glimpse of sunshine, just to connect with nature. Above all, we saw how nature is reclaiming its spaces back. We start to realize how much nature is important to us, even though we are trying to move away from it in a much more efficient world. Venice itself owes everything to nature and to its laguna, its fragile ecosystem. Venice is a place where land, sky and water are combined in something worldwide unique. Despite its charm, Venice is a complex city where to live in. In the tiny crowded calle, you can feel the city fighting against pollution, industrial dirt and indiscriminated urban construction. There is less and less space left to green public areas. Although Biennale, Rimembranze, Papadopoli and San Giuliano in the countryside are the major parks in Venice, minor spots and green areas are spread all over. But most of the times they belong to private court or gardens that offer an amazing, though untouchable view. Venice is constantly calling out for more green areas in order to revitalize the city. Such areas, in addition to being an urban adornment, provide psychological well-being for the people of Venice, tourists and residents. As a young artist, designer and resident, I wonder, how can we provide the city of Venice with more green areas when urban space is so limited? Through Floatin'Flowers, a roof garden system placed on top of ferry stations and ferry boats. Its vegetation is composed of small shrubs and seasonal flowers such as lavender, rosemary, thyme, and other Mediterranean plants that will not be an obstacle to navigation, safety, and maintenance, and will ensure color and beauty during springtime and the hottest month. These rooftops garden fit both in the ferry boat top and the ferry station's flat roof. Anyone visiting Venice will have the opportunity to see Floatin'Flowers and be able to admire them from the bridges as well as travelers themselves on the ferry. Imagine looking down the Academia Bridge and enjoying blooming flowers and herbal perfumes. Looking out of your hotel window in Canal Grande and seeing these floating gardens traveling around. Although this project is still ongoing, it shows lots of potential and could be expanded with different varieties of vegetation according to the season and to the transportation routes. Floatin'Flowers does not aim to totally defeat the problem of air pollution, but, with a poetic vision, wishes to raise awareness about green areas as a fundamental element for personal and environmental harmony.